The story you are about to hear will tell you exactly how Black Friday began, why it matters to your money, and what you can learn from it to feel calmer during the holiday season. You will hear how the term started in the 1800s with a financial crash, how it turned into a police complaint in Philadelphia, and how retailers later turned it into the biggest shopping holiday in the world. By the end of this story, you will not only understand the history, but you will also understand how sales, stress, and spending shape your own financial choices. That is the value of this video, and that is why it is worth staying until the very end. Black Friday is not only a date on the calendar, it is a mirror that reflects how people relate to money. When you understand how the story of this day was shaped, you also understand how your own financial habits were shaped. This is not about deals or discounts. It is about the feelings underneath. The rush of finding a bargain, the pressure to spend when you already feel stretched, the guilt after the shopping bags are empty. This story is about you as much as it is about history. You will hear about the gold crash of 1869 that first gave the name Black Friday. That day ruined thousands of lives and sent fear through Wall Street. You will hear about Philadelphia in the 1950s, where traffic jams and overworked police officers gave the day its next version of meaning. You will hear how retailers in the 1980s took this negative name and spun it into a positive story about profits. You will hear how 99-cent pricing, doorbuster deals, and online shopping shaped a culture of spending that still affects you today. Each part of the story will bring you closer to the truth of how money, emotion, and marketing are tied together. The value of staying until the end is simple. You will leave with clear lessons about how to protect your peace during shopping seasons. You will know why you feel pulled toward a discount even when you do not need the item. You will know why credit card bills feel heavier in January. You will know how to spot fake discounts that are not real savings. And you will hear about alternatives like Giving Tuesday and choosing peace instead of pressure. That can change how you move through the holidays. By the time this story closes, you will not only be wiser, you will also feel calmer because you will see that you are not broken for feeling the way you do. You were shaped by a long history that was designed to pull you in. The reason this story is told at bedtime is also clear. Money stress often keeps people awake. You think about bills, debt, or holiday expenses, and your chest feels tight. This story will meet you in that moment of restlessness. It will walk with you slowly, gently, showing you history and truth in a way that feels safe. Each chapter is designed to let your body soften while your mind learns. By the time you drift to sleep, you will have taken in lessons that stay with you, even as your eyes close. You will feel less alone in your struggles and more capable of choosing peace. Every chapter in this video is built to hold your attention without overwhelming you. The first set of chapters will show you the fog of history and how confusion shaped the meaning of Black Friday. The middle chapters will reveal the wake-up moments when people realized what was happening to them as consumers. The final chapters will guide you into redesign, where you can see choices for yourself that are calmer and kinder. It is a journey that mirrors life with money. Fog, wake up, and redesign. This pattern will keep you engaged while letting you rest. If you stay until the end, you will see the full arc. You will understand how a name that once meant ruin turned into the world's largest shopping holiday. You will see how simple tricks like pricing, urgency, and fake discounts continue to affect you today. You will understand why stress and sleep are so connected to money. You will also be given ways to rethink this season, with options that make you feel freer instead of pressured. This is not a lecture. It is a story that wraps you in clarity and calm. Many people think they know Black Friday. They think it has always been a day of deals. They think it started with sales and profits. The truth is different. The truth is more complex, more human, and more helpful. By listening through to the end, you will have the full picture. You will see the lies that were told, the myths that were spread, and the ways those stories shaped how you shop and how you feel. You will then see how you can write your own story that feels safer. The gift of this video is time and perspective. For 2 hours, you are invited to rest, to learn slowly, and to feel seen. No one will rush you, no one will shame you. The lessons are presented in a gentle way that lets you absorb them at your own pace. This is why so many people return to these stories night after night. They want to feel calm while they also want to grow. That is what this video promises you: a calmer night and a wiser tomorrow. So, as we begin, soften your breath. Let your body know that it is safe here. Let your mind open gently to the story of Black Friday, a story that is bigger than sales, bigger than discounts, bigger than the rush of a single day. It is a story about how money has always been tied to feelings and how you have the choice to step out of pressure and into peace. This story will give you the clarity you need to see that. Stay with me through the final chapter. You will see how history, psychology, and personal choice all connect. You will see that your money story is not broken. It is simply waiting to be rewritten. And you will see how Black Friday itself is proof that stories can change, and so can you. But before we get to the myths of 99-cent tricks and midnight lines, we need to go back to the very first moment. To the original Black Friday, a day of gold, greed, and collapse. That is where this journey begins. The story of Black Friday starts long before shopping carts and flashing signs. It begins in 1869 in New York City. During a time when the country was still healing from the Civil War, two financiers, Jay Gould and James Fisk, decided to manipulate the gold market. They believed they could drive the price up and then sell for massive profits. Their plan worked for a while until it collapsed all at once. On Friday, September 24, 1869, panic spread across Wall Street. The price of gold dropped from $160 an ounce to $130 in minutes. Investors were ruined. Farmers who depended on stable prices were crushed. Merchants who needed gold for trade saw their businesses collapse. That Friday was remembered as Black Friday, a day of chaos and ruin. This was the first time Americans used the term. It had nothing to do with stores or discounts. It was a name for disaster. The color black described loss, despair, and broken promises. For decades, that was the only meaning it carried. Nearly a century later, another version of Black Friday appeared. This time, not on Wall Street, but in Philadelphia. The year was the early 1950s. The city was packed the day after Thanksgiving. Families rushed downtown to start Christmas shopping. At the same time, the annual Army-Navy football game filled the city with fans. Traffic stopped, streets clogged, sidewalks overflowed with people. Police officers were forced to work 12-hour shifts. They dealt with accidents, theft, and endless gridlock. They called it Black Friday, and they hated it. For police, the name meant long hours and no rest. It meant missed time with their own families. It meant stress, fatigue, and a city brought to its knees. Bus drivers, cab drivers, and store clerks felt the same. The city was alive, but it was overwhelming. Local businesses hated the nickname. They felt it scared shoppers away. In 1961, a public relations campaign tried to rename it Big Friday. The idea was to make the day sound cheerful, but the attempt failed. The name Black Friday stuck. By the 1980s, the term had spread across the United States. Retailers had a choice to make. They could not market a shopping holiday with such a dark name, so they rewrote the story. They invented a new meaning for Black Friday. They claimed stores operated at a loss for most of the year. Losses were recorded in red ink on paper ledgers. After Thanksgiving, holiday sales pushed stores into profit. Profits were written in black ink. That was the story retailers told. This red to black explanation was simple and persuasive. It gave the public a reason to celebrate. It made shoppers feel that their spending was important. Every purchase felt like helping a business survive. The myth worked better than the truth. The real history faded into the background. Few remembered the gold crash of 1869. Few remembered the traffic jams of Philadelphia. What remained was the profit story, and that is what shaped the modern holiday. Black Friday became the biggest shopping day of the year. By 2002, it officially held the top spot in U.S. retail. Families lined up outside stores before dawn. Some camped out overnight with blankets and chairs. News crews filmed doors opening and crowds rushing in. Chaos returned, but in a different form. Shoppers fought for televisions, toys, and electronics. Reports described injuries, arrests, and broken doors. In 2008, a Walmart worker was trampled to death in New York. The day of deals had become dangerous. Despite the risks, sales numbers grew. In 2019, Americans spent over $68 billion during Thanksgiving weekend. Online shopping added more fuel. In 2005, Cyber Monday was introduced as the digital version. Today, Black Friday has spread worldwide. But the core truth remains. Black Friday did not begin as a celebration. It began as a day of collapse. It then became a day of traffic and police complaints. Only later did it become a shopping holiday. Knowing this history matters. It shows you how stories shape financial behavior. When the meaning of Black Friday changed, so did consumer habits. The myth encouraged people to spend more. Marketing shaped reality. This first chapter is about clarity. You now know that Black Friday's origin was not about sales. It was about financial failure and urban stress. The shift to a positive story was deliberate. It was designed to draw you in. As you rest tonight, hold this simple lesson. Money stories are not always true. They are often rewritten by those who benefit. Black Friday is proof of that. And seeing this helps you see your own choices more clearly. But this is only the beginning. Before Philadelphia, before 1980s marketing, there was the gold crash. The story of greed, power, and collapse set the tone for everything after. It was the very first Black Friday in American history. And that is where we turn in the next chapter. The phrase Black Friday first appeared in 1869. It had nothing to do with shopping, discounts, or holiday cheer. It was tied to one of the darkest financial crashes in U.S. history. The story began with two men, Jay Gould and James Fisk. They were wealthy, ambitious, and eager for control. At the time, gold was central to the American economy. Farmers relied on stable prices to sell crops abroad. Merchants used gold to trade with other countries. Investors trusted gold to hold its value during uncertainty. Gould and Fisk saw this importance as opportunity. Their plan was bold. They wanted to corner the nation's gold supply. By buying large amounts, they could drive up the price. Once the price was high enough, they would sell for profit. It was a gamble with the entire economy at stake. They had influence in powerful places. They worked through Abel Corbin, the brother-in-law of President Ulysses S. Grant. Corbin lobbied the president, urging him not to sell Treasury gold. The claim was that higher gold prices would help farmers. In truth, it only helped Gould and Fisk. For weeks, the scheme worked. Gold prices rose higher and higher. Other traders, seeing the rise, bought in as well. This created momentum and panic. The price hit $160 per ounce, far above normal levels. But President Grant became suspicious. He realized his family was being used. On September 24, 1869, he ordered the Treasury to act. $4 million in government gold was sold into the market. The price collapsed almost instantly. Gold fell from $160 to $130 in minutes. Fortunes disappeared in a single day. Merchants who imported goods faced ruin. Farmers who sold crops abroad suffered huge losses. Even Wall Street itself was shaken to its core. The newspapers called it Black Friday. The name captured the fear and devastation. It was not a holiday, it was a reminder of greed and collapse. The phrase would echo for generations. The crash taught a harsh lesson. Markets can be manipulated by a few. When that manipulation fails, ordinary people suffer most. Thousands of lives were thrown into financial distress. Yet Gould and Fisk walked away with little punishment. Gould remained one of the richest men in America. Fisk continued his life in business and politics. Those at the top recovered quickly. Those at the bottom carried the weight of the collapse. It was a story of power protecting itself. This first Black Friday set a tone. The words Black Friday became linked to disaster. Over time, the term was used for other crises. When railroads failed, some called it Black Friday. When markets fell, the phrase returned. It was a way of naming pain. The color black marked loss. Friday marked the moment when lives were upended. The name carried heaviness whenever it appeared. And yet, decades later, the name would take on a new face. The history matters because it shows how meaning shifts. At first, Black Friday was about financial ruin. Then it became about urban chaos in Philadelphia. Later, it became a celebration of profits for retailers. The same words, but different stories. Think about what that means for you. The way you view money is shaped by the stories around it. Sometimes those stories are rooted in truth. Other times they are invented to serve someone else. The original Black Friday was a warning, not an invitation. The people of 1869 did not see bargains. They saw fear, uncertainty, and despair. They learned how quickly wealth can vanish. They saw how fragile financial systems can be. And they learned that greed often leaves others broken. This connects directly to today. When you hear Black Friday now, you may think of deals. But hidden underneath is that older history. The rush of shopping carries echoes of the rush of gold. Both are about chasing value before it disappears. The collapse of 1869 reminds us that not every rush ends well. Sometimes it leads to ruin. Sometimes it leaves scars that last for years. And sometimes it creates myths that outlive the truth. This is what happened to Black Friday. The story did not stop with gold. It moved into the 20th century, into crowded streets and tired police. It shifted again into marketing campaigns and retail slogans. But it all began with this day of greed and collapse. That is the hidden root of the story. When you look at your own spending habits, remember this root. The pull you feel toward discounts has a history. It was shaped by forces bigger than you. It was designed to make you act quickly and emotionally. You are not weak for feeling that pull. Understanding where the story began gives you space. It shows you that money choices are not simply personal failures. They are often tied to history, culture, and manipulation. Knowing that helps you release shame. It lets you see your financial story with more compassion. As you rest, hold on to this clarity. Black Friday was once a day of ruin. It became something else only later. You have already seen how it started. Next, you will see how it shifted into a new kind of chaos. Philadelphia in the 1950s would give the name new meaning, not through finance but through crowded streets and exhausted workers. A city overwhelmed by shopping and football fans. A police force stretched thin and angry. This was the second chapter of Black Friday, and that is where we will go next. The city of brotherly love, drowning in traffic and noise. The name Black Friday reborn as a curse from overworked officers. The version of the story that brought the term into modern memory, that is the chapter waiting ahead. By the 1950s, the United States looked very different from the days of gold markets and Wall Street crashes. The country was wealthier, suburban neighborhoods were growing, and shopping was becoming a central part of family life. But in Philadelphia, the day after Thanksgiving was not calm. It was loud, messy, and overwhelming. This was the city where Black Friday found its second life. The Army-Navy football game was held in Philadelphia each year. It drew tens of thousands of fans into the city. At the same time, families from surrounding towns came in to shop for Christmas. The streets filled beyond capacity. Stores overflowed with people, and sidewalks became impossible to move through. The police dreaded this day. They had no choice but to work long hours. Every officer in the city was required to be on duty. Shifts often lasted 12 hours or more. It was one of the hardest days of the year. Traffic jams stretched 4 blocks. Buses and taxis got stuck. Pedestrians pushed through crowds, bumping shoulders and arguing. The noise was constant and exhausting. Shoplifting spiked during the chaos. With stores packed full, it was easy for thieves to blend in. Merchants reported higher losses on this single day than almost any other. Police had to split their focus between traffic control and theft. The work was endless and thankless. The officers started calling it Black Friday. The name captured how miserable the day felt for them. It was a nickname filled with frustration. They used it among themselves at first, but soon, the city knew the term. Local officials hated the name. They worried it made the city sound unsafe. They also feared it would discourage shoppers from coming downtown. They tried to call it Big Friday instead. Newspaper ads pushed the new name. Merchants were told to use it in promotions. Officials spoke about it in public, but the effort failed. Shoppers kept saying Black Friday. The reason was simple. The name described reality. The chaos was real, and everyone felt it. No happy phrase could erase the exhaustion. Black Friday stuck because it was true. For police, the day was dreaded. For merchants, it was stressful but profitable. For shoppers, it was both exciting and overwhelming. Everyone experienced the pressure in different ways, but all agreed it was unlike any other day of the year. This Philadelphia version of Black Friday was messy. It was about traffic jams, crowd surges, and police fatigue. It had nothing to do with profits or ledgers yet, but it was spreading. Newspapers began covering the event. Stories of crowds, crime, and chaos reached other cities. The name gained attention outside Philadelphia. By the late 1970s, more people had heard of it. By the 1980s, it spread across the country. Still, the image was dark. Retailers needed to change it. They could not build a holiday around stress. They needed a story that felt hopeful, and so they rewrote the meaning. They said this Friday was when stores moved into profit. It was clever marketing, and people believed it. The story spread quickly. It gave shoppers a reason to feel proud of spending. Every purchase felt like helping a business survive. Instead of dread, Black Friday became celebration. But the truth about Philadelphia remained underneath. For decades, those who lived in the city remembered the chaos. The officers who worked those shifts never forgot. The merchants who balanced profits and theft remembered too. This dual meaning shaped the holiday we know today. On one hand, it is seen as a festival of shopping. On the other, it carries echoes of exhaustion and loss. The mix of feelings explains why it still causes stress. The past is never fully gone. When you shop on Black Friday today, you feel both sides. The thrill of a deal and the tension of pressure. The joy of saving and the guilt of overspending. These emotions are not new. They are part of the history itself. Understanding this helps you feel less confused. If you feel tired after shopping, that is normal. If you feel regret after a purchase, that too is part of the story. People have felt this way since the beginning. Black Friday has always been heavy. The police of Philadelphia gave us the name. They did not intend to create a holiday. They wanted to describe their frustration, but once a name sticks, it grows. And so Black Friday grew into legend. Tonight, as you rest, remember the officers in the cold. Picture the crowded streets, the traffic, the noise. Think of the merchants trying to keep order in their stores. Think of families rushing through, tired but hopeful. This was the second life of Black Friday. The story will shift again. From chaos to celebration. From police slang to retail marketing. The next step in the journey changes everything. That is where we go in the next chapter. By the early 1980s, the name Black Friday was known outside Philadelphia, but it was still viewed negatively. People associated it with traffic jams, crime, and stress. Retailers realized this would not work for business. They needed to reshape the story. Stores were facing a new era. Shopping malls were expanding across the country. Holiday sales were becoming critical for yearly profits. The day after Thanksgiving was already busy. All it needed was better marketing. Retailers came up with a new explanation. They said stores operated at a loss most of the year. In accounting, losses were written in red ink. Profits were written in black ink. On this Friday, stores turned profitable. The story was simple and convincing. It explained the name without negativity. It made shoppers feel like they were helping businesses. By spending, they brought stores into the black. It was a myth, but an effective one. The explanation first appeared in newspapers in the early 1980s. It spread quickly through media and advertising. Soon, people believed this was the real history. The darker origins were forgotten by most. The new story was easier to accept. By reframing the day, retailers changed its meaning. No longer a day of chaos, it became a day of success. Shopping was no longer a headache, but a tradition. Families began to see it as part of the holiday season. The shift was complete. The strategy worked. Sales grew each year. Stores used the day to launch holiday promotions. They highlighted discounts and special offers. Black Friday became a symbol of abundance. Advertising amplified the excitement. Television spots showed happy families carrying bags. Newspapers featured bold headlines about limited deals. Radio stations promoted doorbuster specials. Everywhere you turned, the story was reinforced. By the late 1980s, Black Friday was national. Cities beyond Philadelphia adopted the name. Shoppers across the country marked the day on calendars. Crowds began lining up outside major stores. The tradition was spreading fast. This was more than a sales event. It was a cultural shift. Shopping became part of the holiday experience. Thanksgiving meant gratitude and family. Friday meant bargains and spending. Retailers celebrated the change. They reported record sales year after year. Some stores earned up to 20% of annual revenue on this weekend. The media repeated success stories. Black Friday became the official start of the season. The transformation showed the power of marketing. A negative phrase turned into a positive holiday. All it took was a new narrative. People accepted it because it felt better. The truth mattered less than the story. For consumers, the excitement was real. The idea of helping stores profit felt meaningful. Shoppers could justify spending. They could say they were part of a bigger story. This sense of purpose fueled the crowds. The myth also removed guilt. Spending did not feel selfish. It felt supportive. even patriotic. Retailers benefited from this emotional framing. The day became unstoppable. Even today, many still believe the profit story. They think Black Friday always meant red to black. Few remember the police in Philadelphia. Even fewer know about the gold crash of 1869. The myth became the reality. This chapter marks the turning point. Black Friday stopped being a burden. It became a celebration of spending. The chaos was painted over with joy, and the public embraced it. But the shift was not only about stories, it was also about tactics. Retailers began using psychological strategies. Pricing tricks and limited offers became central. These would take Black Friday to another level. The 99-cent trick, the doorbuster deal, the urgency timer. Each was designed to trigger quick decisions. Each pushed shoppers deeper into the frenzy. These tactics became part of the Black Friday brand, and they worked powerfully. As you rest tonight, let this lesson settle. The meaning of money can be changed by words. A single story can reshape an entire culture. What once was dread became desire. That is the influence of marketing. The story is not finished. The next stage shows how pricing psychology fueled the frenzy. It reveals how a single penny or a limited sign could move millions. This is the hidden side of retail strategy, and that is where we go next. By the time Black Friday was spreading across the country, retailers were not only changing the story, they were also refining the tools they used to shape how people felt. It was not enough to tell the public that spending brought stores into profit. They also needed to create the small nudges that pushed people to act. These nudges came in the form of pricing tricks and sales tactics that worked quietly on the human brain. One of the simplest and most famous of these tricks was the 99-cent price. When you see a price tag that ends in 99, something happens in your mind. A shirt priced at $19.99 feels less expensive than one priced at $20.00. The difference is only 1 cent, but it feels bigger than it is. This is because our brains tend to look at the first number and anchor our sense of value there. We see the 19 before we notice the 99, and we decide the price feels cheaper. This became known as the 99-cent effect. The idea had existed long before Black Friday became a national event. Department stores in the late 1800s and early 1900s experimented with it. They noticed that customers responded more strongly to prices ending in 9. Over time, it became standard practice across the retail world. By the time Black Friday grew into the holiday we know, the 99-cent trick was everywhere. This simple tactic worked because it created a feeling of savings. Shoppers believed they were getting more value for their money. Even when the difference was only a penny, it gave the sense of finding a bargain. This feeling matters because shopping is not only about logic, it is about emotion. People rarely calculate exact numbers in a store. They respond to how the price makes them feel. Retailers learned to combine the 99-cent trick with other strategies. They used large red sale signs. They displayed items in ways that made them feel scarce or special. They placed the most attractive prices at the front of ads and store windows. All of this worked together to create a powerful pull. People walked into stores believing they were winning something. Another common tactic was the loss leader. This meant selling one product at a price so low that the store might lose money on it. The goal was not to profit from that single product. The goal was to bring people into the store. Once inside, shoppers often bought other items at regular prices. This made the overall sale profitable for the business, even if the doorbuster item itself created no gain. By the 1990s, these tactics became a central part of Black Friday advertising. Shoppers saw television commercials promising once-in-a-lifetime deals. Newspapers were filled with thick inserts of products marked down to prices that seemed unbelievable. A television for half the usual price. A toaster for $10, a sweater marked down by 70%. These items were designed to grab attention and create urgency. The key was that quantities were limited. Ads would say, "Only while supplies last," or "limited to the first 100 customers." This triggered a sense of scarcity. People worried they would miss out if they did not act fast. The combination of low prices and limited supply drove crowds to line up hours before stores opened. When doors finally opened, people rushed inside. Many went straight for the loss leader items, often stacked at the front of the store. Once inside, the layout guided them past other products. It was no accident that shoppers walked by more expensive items while chasing the doorbuster. The excitement of grabbing a cheap deal made them more likely to buy other things without thinking too much. The psychology behind these tactics is simple but effective. Humans react strongly to perceived gains. The thought of saving money feels rewarding. Even if the savings are small or the discount is not real, the act of winning the deal creates a rush. This rush comes from dopamine, a chemical in the brain that makes us feel pleasure. It is the same chemical released when you win a game or receive a gift. This is why many people describe shopping as addictive. It is not only about the product, it is about the feeling of reward. The 99-cent trick, the loss leader, and the limited time offer all feed into this cycle. They create small wins that build momentum. Each purchase gives a little burst of pleasure. Each discount feels like success, but the feeling is short-lived. After the initial rush, reality returns. Bills still arrive. Credit card balances still grow. Sometimes people regret what they bought. The bargain that seemed so important in the moment feels less meaningful later. This cycle is part of the emotional roller coaster of Black Friday. Retailers knew this cycle well. They counted on it. They knew people would leave with more than they planned to buy. They knew the excitement of the doorbuster would lead to extra spending on full-priced items. They also knew that the emotional high would make shoppers less likely to question prices. This is why tactics like the 99-cent trick are still used today. Think about your own experiences. Have you ever bought something because it looked like a bargain, only to realize later that you did not need it? Have you ever felt the thrill of grabbing the last item on a shelf, only to regret the cost later? If you have, you are not alone. These tactics are designed to create those exact feelings. They work on almost everyone. What makes Black Friday unique is the scale. These tactics are always present in retail, but during this day, they are magnified. Prices are cut more sharply, ads are louder, and urgency is stronger. The entire system is built to overwhelm your decision-making and push you toward action. This is why Black Friday became more than a shopping day. It became a cultural event. People camped outside stores the night before. Families treated it as tradition. News outlets covered the rush like a sporting event. The tactics created not only sales, but a shared experience. The 99-cent trick may seem small, but it represents something larger. It shows how even tiny details can shape how people behave. It shows that money is not only about numbers, it is about psychology. And it shows that the stories we believe about value can lead us into decisions we might not otherwise make. As you think about this, let yourself soften. You are not weak for being pulled in by these tactics. Your brain is simply responding to cues that are designed to work on everyone. Knowing this gives you more clarity. It lets you see the pattern instead of blaming yourself. Retailers built Black Friday on these psychological tools. Without them, the day might not have grown so large. With them, it became an unstoppable force. The story of profits, combined with the tactics of pricing, created the modern version of the holiday. But the story does not stop there. The next stage of Black Friday took these ideas even further. Stores realized that opening earlier created even more urgency. They began moving opening times from 8 a.m. to 6 a.m., then to 4 a.m., then to midnight. Some even opened on Thanksgiving itself. This was the dawn of the doorbuster era, when timing became as important as pricing. And that is where we will go next. Into the early mornings, the waiting lines, and the races at dawn that defined the next chapter of Black Friday. By the time the 99-cent trick and other pricing tactics had taken hold, Black Friday was already becoming something larger than a day of discounts. Retailers realized they had tapped into something powerful, but they wanted more. They knew that lowering prices was effective, yet they also understood that timing could multiply the effect. If you could convince people that waiting mattered, and that being first mattered even more, the event would grow into something impossible to ignore. This was the moment when the concept of the doorbuster was born. At first, the sales started at normal business hours. Stores opened around 8 in the morning, and crowds came in steady waves. The shopping was busy, but it was still manageable. Families finished Thanksgiving dinner, slept through the night, and arrived rested. The energy was high, but not overwhelming. Retailers, however, saw a new possibility. If they opened earlier, they could turn the day into an even greater spectacle. Soon, stores began opening at 6 in the morning. This was early enough to feel special, but not so early that people resisted. It worked. Crowds grew, and lines formed outside before dawn. Encouraged by the results, retailers pushed further. 5 a.m. became the standard. Then 4 a.m. came by the early 2000s. Some stores began unlocking their doors at midnight, and eventually, Thanksgiving itself became part of the schedule. Each year, the clock was turned back. Each year, the rush became more intense. The change was not only about earlier hours, it was about building a sense of urgency that wrapped around the holiday itself. Thanksgiving became the prelude, and Black Friday became the main event. Families began planning meals around shopping schedules. Some ate earlier in the day so they could rest before standing in line. Others skipped rest altogether, camping outside stores overnight with blankets, chairs, and thermoses of hot coffee. Waiting in the cold became part of the ritual. The earlier the hour, the stronger the commitment seemed. This is where the doorbuster became the centerpiece. A doorbuster was a product priced so low that it seemed almost unbelievable. A large television marked down by hundreds of dollars. A new gaming system packaged with free accessories. A toaster or blender sold at a fraction of its regular price. These were not random items. They were chosen to grab attention and stir excitement. The promise was simple. If you arrived early and moved quickly, you could win. The catch was scarcity. Stores limited the number of these deals. An ad might promise a flat-screen television for half its usual cost, but only 50 units would be available at each location. A laptop might be advertised at a dramatic discount, but only for the first 100 customers. This created tension before the doors even opened. It was no longer only about shopping. It was about competition. Being in line early meant being part of the race. The scenes outside stores grew familiar. Long lines snaked through parking lots in the cold November night. Families bundled in coats and hats. Friends huddled under blankets, passing time with card games or hot chocolate. Strangers became temporary allies, talking about which aisle they would head for first. There was laughter, nervous energy, and a sense of shared adventure. By the time the doors were unlocked, anticipation had built into a wave of urgency. When the doors finally opened, the calm dissolved. Crowds surged forward, carts clattered against floors, and aisles filled with rushing footsteps. People ran to grab the limited items, hoping to secure the deal they had waited hours for. Some left happy with their prize. Others left disappointed, having missed out. But all of them had been part of the spectacle. The rush itself became part of the memory. Retailers encouraged this energy because it worked. The doorbuster itself often sold at little or no profit. Sometimes stores even lost money on those products. But the goal was never the doorbuster alone. The goal was to get people inside. Once customers were in the store, they passed by other items. After waiting for hours in the cold, few left with only the doorbuster in hand. The excitement spilled into other purchases. A discounted television might come with full-priced accessories. A cheap blender might lead to new cookware sets. The rush of victory made people more willing to spend. Psychologists explain this behavior through reward pathways in the brain. The moment of grabbing a limited deal releases dopamine, the same chemical that makes you feel good when you win a game or receive a gift. The feeling is powerful, but short-lived to keep it going. People often buy more. This is why so many shoppers leave with full carts, even if they only planned to buy one item. The doorbuster primes the brain for reward, and the store is designed to feed that hunger. The tactic worked so well that it reshaped the culture. By the early 2000s, news crews set up outside major retailers to broadcast live footage of the lines. Anchors reported on how many people were camping out, which products were drawing the biggest attention, and how quickly items sold out after doors opened. These broadcasts amplified the hype. People at home saw the coverage and felt the pull to join the event themselves. It was no longer only about deals. It was about being part of something the whole country was watching. But this rise came with costs. Workers bore much of the burden. Preparing stores for midnight openings meant leaving their own Thanksgiving tables early. Some spent the holiday evening stocking shelves, setting up displays, and preparing for the crowds. Many felt the strain of long shifts, rude customers, and the physical toll of endless hours on their feet. For them, Black Friday was not tradition. It was pressure and exhaustion. Shoppers also faced risks. News stories began reporting injuries in the rush of crowds. Some people were pushed down and trampled. Fights broke out over limited products. Parking lots became tense with traffic jams and frayed tempers. The day that had been reframed as a celebration of spending also revealed its darker side once again. The chaos of Philadelphia had returned, only in a new form. Despite these problems, the tradition held strong. Families treated camping out as bonding. Teenagers joined parents in line, seeing it as a rite of passage. Friends turned the overnight wait into a social adventure. For many, the discomfort was part of the memory, like sitting outside at a concert or waiting for a big movie premiere. The risk, the fatigue, and the reward blended into one experience. The numbers confirmed its success. Each year, Black Friday sales grew larger. Billions of dollars changed hands in a single day. Retailers reported record profits. Analysts used the numbers as a way to measure the strength of the economy. If Black Friday sales were strong, people said it meant consumer confidence was high. The day had become not only a tradition, but also a national signal of financial health. The rise of online shopping in the 2000s added another layer. Websites began offering their own versions of doorbusters, sometimes with countdown timers or flash sales. While nothing matched the physical rush of a crowded store, digital versions created their own urgency. Limited stock warnings, ticking clocks, and free shipping offers pulled people into the same cycle of reward. The doorbuster had found a home on the internet as well. For you, understanding this chapter is important because it explains why Black Friday feels so heavy. It is not only about saving money, it is about timing, scarcity, and competition. It is about years of stories and practices designed to pull you in. When you feel the pull, you are feeling the weight of decades of tactics that shaped this day into what it is now. As you think about this, give yourself permission to feel calm. You are not weak for wanting a deal. You are responding to forces designed to trigger that exact feeling. Knowing this gives you space to breathe. It helps you see that you have a choice in how you engage. The dawn of the doorbuster was not the end of the story. It was the beginning of a new phase. The next chapter is about what happens inside you when you shop. It is about why people often buy things they do not need, and why the thrill of a discount feels stronger than the logic of saving. It is about impulse, emotion, and the heart pulling ahead of the head, and that is where we will go next. Into the psychology of impulse shopping, the quiet reasons people buy beyond what they planned, and how emotion often shapes financial choices more than numbers ever do. By the time doorbusters had become the heartbeat of Black Friday, the story was no longer only about timing or scarcity. It had become about something more intimate, something that happens inside each person when they shop. The lines outside stores and the rush of crowds were visible on the news, but the deeper story was quieter. It lived in the decisions people made once they stepped inside, in the moments when their hearts moved faster than their heads. Impulse shopping is not new. People have always bought things they did not plan to buy. What makes Black Friday unique is how carefully it is designed to amplify this behavior. Everything about the day, from the loud signs to the ticking clocks, is meant to nudge people into quick choices. It is not logic that wins in these moments, it is emotion. Think about how it feels to see a sign that says only 3 left. Your pulse quickens. You feel a sense of urgency, even if you were not looking for that product. The thought of missing out feels heavier than the thought of saving money by walking away. This is how stores capture impulse. They frame the decision as a race against time. In that race, the heart usually crosses the finish line before the head. Psychologists explain this through the way the brain processes rewards. When you see a sale or grab a bargain, your brain releases dopamine. It is the same chemical that makes you feel pleasure when you win a game, eat something sweet, or receive praise. This chemical reward feels good, and your body wants more of it. That is why a single purchase often leads to more. One small thrill opens the door to the next. This is why Black Friday feels so different from a regular shopping day. The energy of the crowd, the music in the store, the bold signs in red, all of it pushes your brain to expect reward. Once you get a taste of it, you look for the next item, and the next. The plan you made before entering the store fades quickly. The budget you set feels less important. In the moment, your heart is chasing something your head cannot hold back. Retailers know this, and they design around it. The placement of products is not random. Doorbusters are usually located near the front, but to reach them, you often walk past shelves of other items. Accessories, snacks, and small electronics are placed along the way. Each one is positioned as an easy win, something you might toss in your cart without much thought. By the time you reach the doorbuster, your cart is already heavier than you planned. The same logic applies at checkout. Small items are stacked near the registers, ready to tempt you while you wait. Batteries, headphones, candles, and gift cards are all there for a reason. They are priced low enough to feel harmless, but high enough to add to the store's profits. In the rush of the moment, these last-minute choices pile on. You leave with more than you intended, but in that moment, it feels natural. Impulse buying is not only about marketing, it is also about emotion. Many people shop to manage stress. Holidays bring pressure to provide, to give, to keep up with others. Buying something on sale feels like relief. It feels like proving you can give without going broke. Even when money is tight, the pull is strong because the purchase is not only about the item, it is about the emotion tied to it. For some, impulse shopping provides a sense of control. When life feels uncertain, buying something new feels like a decision you can own. It may be small, but it brings a moment of comfort. For others, it is about belonging. Holding the same shopping bags as everyone else in the crowd creates a feeling of connection. Even if you did not plan to spend, you feel part of the event. The purchase becomes a symbol of participation. Research has shown how strong these emotions can be. People often report feeling happy when they grab a deal, but many also feel regret later. That regret is part of the cycle. It shows how the heart often wins in the moment, while the head returns later with reminders of bills and budgets. Yet, even with the regret, people return each year. The emotional pull is that strong. Black Friday magnifies this cycle because it compresses time. Everything is limited. The sale ends in hours, the stock will not last, the doors will close soon. These limits leave little room for reflection. You are encouraged to act now, think later, and in those conditions, impulse wins. The rise of online shopping added another layer to this cycle. Digital stores began using flash sales and countdown timers to replicate the urgency of doorbusters. Notifications reminded you of deals ending soon. Limited stock warnings appeared on screens. Only to left was no longer written on a sign in a store, but flashing on your phone. The result was the same. The impulse felt immediate, and many people clicked buy before thinking twice. Impulse buying can feel like weakness, but it is not. It is a human response to pressure and reward. Your brain is wired to respond this way. Knowing that helps you see it more clearly. When you understand the design, you can pause. You can notice when your heart is racing ahead of your head. That pause creates space for choice. The lesson of this chapter is gentle but important. Money choices are not only about discipline or willpower, they are about feelings that rise faster than thoughts. On Black Friday, those feelings are heightened by design. When you feel pulled into an impulse, it does not mean you are broken. It means you are human. Understanding this gives you power. It lets you forgive yourself for past regrets. It also helps you plan differently in the future. Instead of expecting to fight against impulse, you can prepare for it. You can recognize the signs, and you can choose which purchases matter and which do not. The awareness itself is freeing. But the story of impulse does not end here, because when impulse meets credit cards, the stakes grow even higher. It is one thing to spend cash on small wins. It is another to swipe a card for hundreds of dollars in a single morning. The ease of credit changes the picture, and it explains why so many people leave Black Friday, not only with bags, but also with new debt. And that is where we will go next. Into the world of plastic promises, where spending now feels easy, but the bill arrives later with its own weight. By the time impulse shopping had become part of Black Friday, another force was waiting quietly in the background. It was the piece of plastic that many people carried in their wallets, the card that could open doors and close them at the same time. Credit cards made it easier than ever to buy quickly, and they changed the way Black Friday worked. With one swipe or tap, people could turn a rush of emotion into a purchase without feeling the weight until much later. Credit cards were already part of everyday life by the time Black Friday reached its peak. They were promoted as tools of convenience, a way to buy now and pay later. On a normal day, this already made it easier for people to stretch their budgets. On Black Friday, surrounded by deals and urgency, the effect was even stronger. Shoppers felt empowered to buy more because the payment was not immediate. The bill would not come until weeks later. This delay created a sense of safety in the moment. People who might have hesitated to hand over cash found it easier to swipe a card. It did not feel like money leaving their hands. It felt like freedom, like an open door. That freedom, however, came with hidden costs. Interest rates, fees, and minimum payments meant the true price of those purchases could grow larger than expected. Many did not think about that as they filled their carts. Surveys in recent years showed how common this pattern is. More than 1 in 3 Americans reported taking on debt during the holiday season. The average amount added to credit cards was over $1,000. For many, this debt did not disappear quickly. Some carried it well into the new year, and some carried it much longer. What felt light in the store grew heavy in January. The emotional impact was clear. During the sale, shoppers felt excitement, relief, and pride. They believed they had secured good deals for their families. Afterward, as statements arrived, the emotions shifted. Stress rose. Guilt and regret crept in. People admitted they had spent more than they planned, but the momentum of the day had swept them away. Credit made it possible, and credit made it harder to escape the consequences. Retailers benefited from this system as well. They partnered with banks to offer store cards and special promotions. Save an extra 10% when you open a card today. These offers seemed harmless in the moment. For some shoppers, they even felt like part of the deal. Yet the reality was different. Store cards often carried higher interest rates. A 10% discount at the register could turn into months of debt at 20% interest. The hidden trade-off was rarely explained clearly for shoppers already stressed by the holidays. This was a dangerous cycle. Many people used credit to cover not only gifts but also food, travel, and decorations. Each swipe added to the balance. By January, the total was larger than expected. Paying it off in full was not always possible. Many made only the minimum payment, which left the balance lingering, growing with interest month after month. The effect of debt is not only financial, it is emotional and physical. People who carry high balances report higher levels of stress and anxiety. Some lose sleep at night, replaying the choices they made. Others avoid looking at their statements, hoping to delay the discomfort. The same plastic that brought joy in the store brought worry at home. This is why the term plastic promises feels fitting. A credit card promises freedom, convenience, and opportunity. It promises that you can buy what you want when you want it. In the short term, it keeps that promise. But in the long term, it often delivers something else. It delivers bills, interest, and the burden of owing more than you planned. The cycle repeats each year. The holiday season approaches, sales begin, and shoppers reach for their cards. The short-term joy wins over the long-term plan. Even those who know the risks often fall into the same trap because the system is designed to encourage it. The stores offer the deals, the banks offer the cards. The culture encourages generosity, even if it comes at a cost. For you, understanding this cycle can feel heavy, but it can also bring relief. It reminds you that your struggles with credit are not about weakness. They are about a system built to make spending easy and delaying payment normal. It is not a personal flaw to feel pressure. It is a shared experience across millions of people. Still, knowing the cost can help you soften the cycle. You can remember that each swipe is not free. You can remember that the bill will come and that paying only the minimum will keep it longer. You can see the promise for what it is, a tool that can help in small ways but hurt when used without care. Even this gentle awareness gives you more peace. Black Friday would not be the same without credit cards. The size of purchases, the number of items, and the willingness to take risks are all shaped by them. The history of the day is tied to plastic as much as to pricing tricks and doorbusters. Without credit, the frenzy might be smaller. With credit, it grew into a season of both joy and debt. As you rest with this story, let yourself feel lighter. The weight of debt does not define you. It is something many people face. What matters is the awareness that grows from it. Each story you learn tonight helps you see money more clearly. It helps you treat yourself with more kindness. It helps you realize that stress can be softened when you see the patterns behind it. But the story is not finished. Credit cards explain part of the pressure, but there is another layer. Shopping is often tied to stress and coping. Many people buy not only because of deals or credit, but because spending itself feels like comfort. This is the quiet truth of emotional spending. And that is where we will go in the next chapter, into the link between stress, relief, and the comfort people sometimes find in a shopping cart. By the time credit cards had become part of the Black Friday story, the emotional side of shopping was clearer than ever. People were not only buying because of discounts or convenience, many were buying because it made them feel better, at least for a while. The stress of daily life, the pressure of the holidays, and the quiet weight of financial worry often found a temporary release in the act of placing something in a cart. This is why shopping is often called retail therapy. It is not about the product itself. It is about the feeling that comes with choosing, buying, and holding something new. On Black Friday, that feeling is multiplied by the energy of the crowd, the urgency of the deals, and the belief that you are getting something valuable for less. For a moment, all the stress in life feels quieter. Holidays add another layer of pressure. Families expect gifts, traditions, and gatherings. Advertisements remind you that love is shown through presents. Social media shows images of perfect celebrations. For many, this creates a sense of obligation. Buying becomes a way to meet expectations and avoid disappointment. Even if money is tight, the pull is strong. A gift feels like proof of care, and skipping it feels like failure. Studies have shown that 8 out of 10 Americans report higher stress during the holidays. Almost half say that money is the biggest cause. People feel the pressure to give, to host, and to show generosity. In that atmosphere, the act of shopping offers more than goods. It offers a break from the weight of expectation. Standing in a store or scrolling through deals can feel like taking back control. Emotional spending often begins with stress. When life feels heavy, shopping offers a quick way to change how you feel. The moment you add an item to your cart, your brain rewards you. You feel lighter, as if you solved a problem. Even if the problem is not solved, the act of buying provides relief. This is why so many people describe shopping as soothing, even when they regret the purchases later. On Black Friday, the triggers for emotional spending are everywhere. Crowds, flashing signs, countdown timers, and limited quantities all create tension. That tension builds stress, and the stress fuels the urge to buy. The act of shopping becomes the release. Instead of thinking carefully, many follow the emotional pull. They leave with bags full of items they never planned to buy. It is important to understand that this behavior is not weakness, it is human. Our brains are wired to seek relief from stress. Some find it in food, others in entertainment, and many in shopping. The environment of Black Friday is designed to amplify that instinct. The comfort found in the cart is real, even if it does not last. For some, the comfort comes from giving. Buying gifts for loved ones feels good because it connects to relationships. A parent might overspend on toys, not because the child needs them, but because it feels like proof of love. A friend might buy more than they can afford for a holiday party, not because it is required, but because it feels like belonging. These choices are emotional at their core, not financial. For others, the comfort comes from escape. When work, bills, or relationships feel overwhelming, the store becomes a place where you can control the outcome. You choose the item, you make the decision. The act is small, but it feels like power. Even if the power is temporary, it matters in that moment. This pattern explains why so many people leave Black Friday with mixed feelings. In the store, they feel relief and joy. At home, they feel guilt and regret. The comfort fades, and the reality of debt and clutter replaces it. This cycle is not unique to one person. It is part of the structure of the holiday itself. It is how the system was built. Knowing this truth can help you feel more at peace. When you understand that emotional spending is part of a larger pattern, you can forgive yourself for being pulled into it. You can see that you are not alone in feeling stressed or in buying for comfort. You can also begin to notice when you are shopping for relief rather than need. That awareness can soften the cycle. Retailers know about emotional spending, and they build it into their strategies. Store music is chosen to set a mood. Layouts are designed to draw attention to items that feel comforting, like soft blankets, warm candles, or small luxuries. Ads frame purchases as gifts of love, safety, and care. These messages connect directly to emotions. They are not selling only products, they are selling feelings. Online shopping follows the same logic. Websites show deals that feel urgent, but they also highlight items meant to soothe. The act of scrolling becomes its own form of relief. You feel busy, engaged, and in control. even if you are simply adding things to a digital cart. The comfort is real, and it is why many people shop late at night when stress feels the heaviest. But, like all comfort that comes from escape, it does not last. The stress returns, the bills arrive, the space fills with items that may not be used. The comfort in the cart fades into clutter in the corner. This is the hidden cost of emotional spending. It provides relief for minutes, but it creates weight for months. Still, the lesson is not to avoid shopping altogether. The lesson is to notice how it feels. When you place something in your cart, ask yourself why. Is it for need or is it for relief? Neither answer is wrong, but the awareness changes the experience. It shifts the act from automatic to intentional, and even small moments of intention can bring peace. As you lie in bed tonight, let this truth ease your heart. Money is not only about numbers, it is about emotions, memories, and pressures that live deep inside you. When you shop for comfort, you are responding to stress, not failing as a person. You are human. That reminder alone can help you rest easier. The comfort in the cart explains part of the holiday spending cycle, but the story goes deeper. Stress and shopping are not only connected through emotion, they are also connected through sleep. Many people lose rest during the holidays, either from worry or from staying awake for sales. That lack of rest shapes the choices they make. A tired mind is more vulnerable to impulse, more likely to reach for comfort, and that is where the story will go next. Into the quiet hours of the night, when worry keeps people awake, when the glow of screens tempts tired eyes, and when sleeplessness becomes another part of the shopping cycle. After the comfort of shopping fades, another part of the cycle begins. It shows up late at night, in the quiet hours, when the world has slowed down, but your mind has not. This is when money and sleep become tied together. It is when the choices made during the day echo in the dark. And it is when the worries that feel distant in daylight return with sharper edges. Holidays make these nights heavier. There are bills to consider, travel plans to arrange, and family expectations to meet. Black Friday adds another layer, with its early openings and late-night online deals. Many people lie awake, wondering if they missed the best sale or worrying about what they spent earlier. The body is tired, but the mind keeps replaying numbers. Rest slips away. Losing sleep does not only happen because of worry. Many people stay awake on purpose for deals. They camp outside stores overnight, trading warmth and comfort for the hope of a bargain. Others sit at home in front of screens, refreshing pages at midnight for limited online offers. The ritual of staying awake has become part of the event itself, but the cost is real. Sleep is traded for shopping, and fatigue follows. A tired brain works differently. When you lose sleep, your ability to make careful decisions weakens. Research has shown that lack of rest lowers self-control and increases impulsivity. This is why late-night purchases often feel harder to resist. The same item you might ignore in the morning looks tempting at 2 a.m. The same deal that feels unnecessary when rested feels urgent when you are tired. Fatigue blurs the line between want and need. This connection between sleep and spending explains why many people regret late-night purchases. The body was craving rest, but instead, it was given stimulation from screens, sales, and decisions. The quick dopamine rush of buying filled the gap, but it did not restore energy. When morning arrives, the mind feels heavy. The cart is full, but the rest is missing. Financial stress deepens the cycle. More than half of Americans report losing sleep over money at some point in their lives. The holidays heighten this worry. People think about credit card bills waiting in January, about whether they spent too much, or about the gifts they still need to buy. These thoughts do not leave when the lights turn off. They grow louder in the silence of the night. The physical impact of sleeplessness is strong. Fatigue increases anxiety. Anxiety increases the urge to find quick relief. Shopping often becomes that relief. Some people scroll through online deals in bed, not because they need anything, but because the act distracts them from worry. In the short term, this soothes the mind. In the long term, it adds to the cycle of regret and debt. Black Friday and the sales around it create the perfect storm. The combination of stress, fatigue, and temptation makes people more vulnerable. Stores and websites know this. They time their biggest deals for midnight or early morning, when shoppers are less alert. They know that a tired brain is quicker to click. They know that urgency feels sharper in the dark. This does not mean people are weak. It means they are human. Sleep is one of the strongest influences on decision-making. When rest is lost, even the most disciplined person is more likely to make mistakes. This is not a failure of character, it is simply biology. Seeing this truth can lift some of the shame people feel about their choices. The nights of worry reveal another lesson too. They show how money is tied not only to accounts and bills, but also to health and peace. When financial stress steals sleep, it takes more than rest. It takes clarity, energy, and resilience. This is why money troubles feel heavier than other challenges. They do not end when the day ends, they follow into the night. As you listen, notice how your body feels. If you have ever stared at the ceiling thinking about bills, you know this weight. If you have ever stayed awake for a sale, you know the pull. These experiences are shared by millions. You are not alone in them. Knowing this can help soften the pressure. The quiet hours do not need to be filled with judgment. They can be filled with understanding. The story of midnight worries connects back to every part of Black Friday. The pricing tricks that spark impulse, the doorbusters that demand early hours, the credit cards that delay payment, all of them lead into the night. They create excitement, but they also create fatigue, and fatigue feeds worry. The circle keeps spinning until people learn to notice it. There is also a gentler side to this truth. Rest is not only about sleep. Rest is about giving yourself permission to pause. Even if your mind is racing, you can take small steps to calm it. Turning off screens, breathing deeply, or writing down tomorrow's worries on paper can lighten the load. These choices do not erase financial stress, but they soften its grip on the night. Midnight worries remind us that peace with money is not only about balance sheets. It is about nervous systems and bedtime thoughts. It is about creating enough calm to let the body recharge. Without rest, financial clarity is harder to find. With rest, the same problems feel smaller and the same choices feel easier. This chapter shows how important it is to treat yourself kindly in these moments. If you bought something you regret, remember that you were tired and under pressure. If you stayed up all night chasing deals, remember that the system was built to encourage that. Awareness is the first step toward change. Forgiveness is the next. Black Friday thrives on sleeplessness, but it is not the only force at play. The story also continues into the digital age, where the shopping does not stop at dawn. When the weekend stretches on and Monday brings its own version of urgency, the cycle expands. This is where the story of Cyber Monday begins, and where the idea of digital dopamine changes the picture again. And that is where we will go in the next chapter, into the world of online deals, glowing screens, and the comfort of shopping from bed. Where the rush is delivered not through doors opening, but through a single click. After the long nights of Black Friday and the sleepless worries that follow, another part of the story arrives. It takes place not in crowded stores or parking lots, but in the quiet of your own home. It is the part of the shopping season that lives on screens, on glowing phones and laptops. Where the rush comes not from doors opening, but from clicks and timers. This is the rise of Cyber Monday, the digital extension of Black Friday, and it has become as powerful as the in-store rush itself. The idea of Cyber Monday began in 2005. Online shopping was still new for many households, but internet sales were rising each year. Retailers noticed that the Monday after Thanksgiving was especially busy. People returned to work and used their office computers to shop for deals they had missed in stores. What began as a small observation quickly grew into a national event. Retailers promoted this Monday as the online answer to Black Friday. It offered the same sense of urgency and scarcity, but it was delivered in a softer form. Instead of crowds, there were countdown clocks. Instead of lines at the door, there were digital carts waiting on screens. It was calmer in appearance, but no less intense in feeling. The rush moved from the store aisles into the private corners of homes and offices. For many people, Cyber Monday was easier. You did not need to wake up before dawn or stand in the cold. You could stay in your pajamas, sip your coffee, and scroll through deals. It felt safer and more convenient. But the emotions underneath were the same. The thrill of grabbing a limited offer, the pressure of a countdown timer, the pull of only 3 left in stock. These triggers worked as powerfully online as they did in person. Digital platforms learned quickly how to design for these emotions. Websites displayed bright banners, flashing timers, and reminders that stock was running out. Pop-ups told you how many other people were viewing the same item. Notifications arrived on your phone with messages like, "Don't miss out," or "Your deal expires soon." Each of these touches created urgency, and each kept shoppers glued to their screens. The science behind it was the same as the science behind doorbusters. Every time you clicked Add to Cart or completed a purchase, your brain released dopamine. It rewarded you for acting fast. Online shopping added a second layer to this cycle. Not only did you feel a rush when you placed the order, you felt another rush when the package arrived days later. The excitement was stretched out, and the reward repeated. This is why online shopping can feel addictive. It is not only about the convenience, it is about the way the brain responds to the cycle of anticipation and reward. Black Friday condensed this into hours. Cyber Monday extended it into days and weeks. The shopping season grew longer, and the emotional grip became tighter. The numbers showed the power of this shift. In recent years, Cyber Monday has matched or even surpassed Black Friday in sales. Billions of dollars are spent in a single day, with millions of transactions completed online. Retailers now plan their holiday season around both days. For them, it is no longer about a single event. It is about a long weekend of spending that stretches from Thursday to Monday, blending in-person chaos with digital urgency. For shoppers, the experience is different but connected. Black Friday is about noise, crowds, and adrenaline. Cyber Monday is about screens, clicks, and quiet rushes of excitement. Both play on the same emotions, but they reach people in different ways. Together, they create a cycle that touches nearly everyone during the season. There are also risks unique to the digital side. Because shopping online feels private, many people spend more than they would in person. There is no line, no cashier, no cart to push. Purchases happen in seconds, and totals add up quickly. Credit cards and digital wallets make it even easier, separating the act of spending from the feeling of paying. The barrier is low, and the temptation is high. Some people stay awake late into the night to chase digital deals. Others check their phones constantly throughout the day. The glow of the screen becomes another part of the holiday stress. Instead of resting, many spend their evenings scrolling, convinced they might miss something important. The fatigue of sleepless nights blends with the pressure of constant notifications. Yet Cyber Monday also reflects a broader truth about shopping. It shows how technology has changed the way people relate to money. Stores are no longer limited by walls or hours. Deals can appear at any time, and the store is always open. The idea of waiting for a single day has stretched into a season. The lines between shopping and resting have blurred. For you, understanding this cyber rush can help bring awareness to your own patterns. When you feel the pull to check one more website or click one more notification, you can pause and ask why. Is it about the product, or is it about the feeling of not wanting to miss out? Awareness does not erase the temptation, but it gives you more choice in how you respond. Cyber Monday shows that shopping is no longer only about objects. It is about attention. Every notification is designed to draw your focus. Every timer is meant to keep you from stepping away. The product matters less than the process. This is why the rush feels strong, even when the item is small. It is not only about the value of the purchase, it is about the value of your attention. The lesson here is gentle but important. When you see the design of these systems, you can forgive yourself for feeling caught in them. The pull is not only in your mind, it is in the way the environment is built. Recognizing this can reduce shame and bring more calm. You are not broken for checking deals late at night. You are responding to a system made to capture your focus. As you rest tonight, let yourself feel softer. Toward your own habits, the season is filled with pressures that go beyond logic. They are rooted in history, culture, and technology. Cyber Monday is one chapter of that story, one that shows how the rush of shopping has moved into the digital age. It reflects not only how people buy, but also how they live, connected to screens and guided by constant signals. But even in this digital shift, another truth remains. Not every deal is real. Many online discounts are illusions, shaped by markups and marketing tricks that make the savings look larger than they are. The next part of this story reveals how false discounts and deceptive pricing have become part of the game, and how shoppers can begin to see through them. And that is where we will go next, into the mirage of savings, where the numbers on the screen do not always tell the truth, and where the promise of a bargain can turn out to be something else entirely. After the rise of Cyber Monday, the shopping season stretched across both stores and screens. But behind the excitement of deals, another truth was waiting. Not every discount was what it seemed. Many of the prices that looked like generous cuts were carefully designed illusions. Shoppers thought they were saving money, but often they were being guided into decisions by numbers that did not tell the whole story. This chapter is about those mirages of savings and how they shape the way people spend. The practice of marking up prices before slashing them down is not new. Retailers have used it for decades. A sweater may be displayed with an original price of $80 and a sale price of $40. Even though it had never sold for $80, a television may be advertised at half off, when in truth it had been selling at the lower price for months. The big discount makes the item look special, but the truth is that the deal is often an illusion. Why does this work? It works because people anchor their sense of value on the first number they see. When you are told something was once worth $80, $40 feels like a bargain. When you are told a television cost $1,200, $600 feels like a gift. Your brain compares the two numbers and feels like you are winning, even if the first number was never real. This is why fake discounts are so effective. They do not need to lower the price. They only need to change the story. Some stores take this further by keeping items on sale almost all the time. An item may be labeled at 50% off for weeks, creating the sense that you are always catching a lucky break. In truth, that is simply the regular price. The sale is not an exception, it is the rule. But the word sale works powerfully. It changes how the shopper feels, and feelings drive spending more than facts. This is why many people describe Black Friday as overwhelming. It is not only the crowds or the screens, it is the flood of numbers, percentages, and tags that push you to feel like you are in constant danger of missing out. Each deal is framed as urgent, unique, and unrepeatable. The reality is softer. Many discounts return later in the season, some are not real at all. But in the moment, it is hard to see past the mirage. It is not only individuals who fall into this trap. Studies have shown that more than half of products tracked in large stores were listed at fake discounts at some point in the year. This means the majority of deals people see are not as special as they appear. Yet shoppers continue to feel excitement because the illusion works on emotion, not on calculation. Few people track prices across weeks. Most respond to what they see in front of them. The emotional side is what matters most here. People do not only want products, they want to feel smart, capable, and successful. A discount makes them feel that way. It feels like winning a small battle against high prices. It feels like being clever with money. Even if the savings are not real, the feeling is. This is why fake discounts keep working. They offer an emotional reward that feels as valuable as a financial one. This emotional pull connects back to stress and comfort. When people are already stretched by the holidays, a sale can feel like relief. It says, you are saving, you are doing well, you are in control. That message is powerful. It can silence worry for a while. It can make the act of spending feel like the act of winning. That is why so many walk away satisfied, even if they later realize the deal was less than it seemed. But once the illusion is seen, it cannot be unseen. Some shoppers notice that the original prices are inflated. Others see the same item listed at the same sale price week after week. With awareness, the mirage fades. What felt like a lucky break begins to look like a trick. This awareness can bring mixed emotions, frustration at being misled, but also empowerment from seeing the truth. It is not weakness to have fallen for it. It is strength to now recognize it. Online shopping has only amplified these illusions. Websites often show crossed-out prices next to sale prices. They display limited stock messages that are generated automatically, not always based on real numbers. Countdown timers urge people to act before the clock runs out, even though the same deal may restart the next day. These tools are designed to feel urgent, but their purpose is to keep attention and push decisions. For many, this creates guilt later. Shoppers look back at their receipts and realize they spent more than they planned, often on items they did not truly need. The mirage of savings created the feeling of success, but the reality left them with less money and more clutter. The gap between feeling and fact is what creates regret. And yet, year after year, people return, because the pull of the illusion is strong. This does not mean people are foolish. It means they are human. The brain is built to respond to contrast. Seeing a big number next to a smaller one feels good. It feels safe, even if the big number is fake. Knowing this can soften self-blame. It can remind you that these systems are designed to trigger that reaction in almost everyone. The problem is not in the shopper. The design is in the system. As you think about this, allow yourself to rest in a simple truth. The promise of a deal does not always match the reality. Yet you can still feel proud of noticing when the mirage appears. You can pause, reflect, and choose differently. Even small acts of awareness change the story. They shift power back into your hands where it belongs. The lesson of the mirage is not only about shopping, it is about seeing how stories shape decisions. Prices tell stories, numbers tell stories, the way they are framed guides how you feel. When you learn to look at those stories with calm eyes, you see more clearly. You realize that the best deals are not always on tags or screens. Sometimes the best deal is keeping your peace, your sleep, and your sense of control. Black Friday and Cyber Monday thrive on illusions, but there is more to the story. Beyond fake discounts are myths that have shaped the meaning of Black Friday itself. Myths about when it began, what it stands for, and why it matters. Many of these myths are repeated as fact, but they hide the real history underneath. And that is where we will go in the next chapter, into the world of misconceptions, where stories replace truths, and where the history of Black Friday is retold in ways that blur what really happened. After the mirage of fake discounts, there is another layer of confusion that surrounds Black Friday. It is not only the price tags that create illusions. The history of the day itself has often been told through myths and half-truths. Over time, these stories have been repeated so often that they feel real. Yet when you look closely, the truth is softer, and it often looks different from the stories we have been taught. This chapter is about clearing the fog of those myths. One of the most common myths is that Black Friday was always about shopping. Many people believe it started as a day when stores offered special sales to kick off the holiday season. This is not true. The first Black Friday had nothing to do with shopping. It was about the collapse of the gold market in 1869. The name was linked to fear and loss, not to bargains or cheer. That part of the story often gets left out because it does not fit the image of joy. Another myth is the story of red and black ink. You may have heard that stores operated at a loss for most of the year and only became profitable after Thanksgiving. The claim is that the day after Thanksgiving was when ledgers turned from red ink to black ink. This sounds neat and convincing, and many still believe it. Yet the truth is that this explanation was invented later by retailers who wanted to reframe the day. It was a public relations move, not a fact from history. There is also the myth that Black Friday has always been the busiest shopping day of the year. For a long time, that was not the case. In fact, until the early 2000s, the Saturday before Christmas often held the record as the busiest shopping day. Black Friday grew into that position later, after years of marketing and cultural change. The idea that it was always the biggest day is a story that was repeated until it became accepted as truth. Clearing these myths does not take away the meaning of Black Friday. It makes the meaning clearer. It shows how stories evolved to match the needs of the moment. In the 1860s, the story was about a financial crash. In the 1950s, it was about traffic and police stress. In the 1980s, it was reframed as profit and success. Each version told people something about their world. Each version also shaped how people thought about money and spending. The myth of red and black ink is especially powerful because it changes how people feel. When shoppers believe they are helping stores survive, they feel proud to spend. It turns a personal purchase into part of a larger story. It softens guilt and replaces it with a sense of contribution. This is why myths matter. They are not harmless. They guide emotions, and emotions guide behavior. The myth of Black Friday as the biggest shopping day also shaped habits. Families planned around it, not because it was always the busiest, but because they believed it was. They scheduled trips, lined up earlier, and built traditions on an idea that was not always true. Over time, the myth became reality. What people believed shaped what they did, and what they did created the outcome. This is the hidden power of myths. They do not need to be accurate to have influence. They only need to feel true. Once enough people accept them, they become part of culture. Black Friday shows this clearly. Myths changed the way people saw the day, and in turn, the way they spent money. Seeing through these myths brings freedom. When you know the story is not what you were told, you can make different choices. You can see that your spending is not tied to saving a business or keeping up with tradition. You can choose to step back, rest, or spend more thoughtfully. the fog begins to lift and clarity returns. But clearing the fog also requires gentleness. Many people have believed these myths for years. They have passed them down in families, shared them with friends, and built traditions on them. It is not about judging those choices. It is about understanding that the stories were built for reasons, and those reasons often had more to do with profit than with truth. When you pause to reflect, you may notice other myths in your own relationship with money. You may remember lessons you heard as a child, such as spending shows love, or success is measured by what you buy. These too are myths that shape behavior. They are not always said directly, but they are absorbed through culture, family, and advertising. Clearing the fog around Black Friday can help you clear the fog in your own money story as well. Think of the relief that comes with this awareness. When you recognize a myth, you no longer need to follow it blindly. You can step outside it and ask, is this true for me? Is this how I want to live? The myths lose their power when you see them for what they are. They become stories, not rules. That shift alone can bring peace. Black Friday myths also remind us that money and memory are deeply connected. The stories we believe about money often come from the past. They are told again and again until they feel permanent. Yet history shows that they can change. Black Friday itself changed meaning 3 times. What was once a crash became a complaint. What was once a complaint became a celebration. Stories bend to fit the time. That means your money story can bend to. This chapter clears some of the myths around Black Friday, but it also opens a question. If the history has been reshaped so many times, what other options exist? If the story can be retold by retailers to encourage spending, can it also be retold by individuals to encourage peace? The answer is yes, and that is what begins to happen when people start rejecting the myths altogether. In recent years, movements have grown that step outside the frenzy of Black Friday. Some choose to close their stores, telling customers to spend the day with family instead. Others encourage giving rather than buying. These alternatives show that new stories can be written. They show that you do not have to accept the myths handed down to you. You can create your own, and that is where we will go in the next chapter. Into the softer paths people have chosen, the gentle alternatives to the chaos, and the new traditions that remind us that the holiday season does not need to be defined by discounts. After clearing away the myths that surround Black Friday, another truth begins to appear. It is the truth that you do not have to accept the story as it has always been told. Just as retailers reshaped the meaning of the day, people have begun reshaping it for themselves. Instead of joining the chaos, some have chosen to step aside. Instead of rushing into crowds, they have chosen peace. These alternatives are quieter, softer, and rooted in values that feel calmer than the frenzy of shopping. One of the most visible examples came from a retailer that decided not to compete at all. In 2015, the outdoor company Ray announced that it would close all of its stores on Black Friday. It paid its employees to spend the day off and encouraged customers to do the same. The campaign was called #OptOutside. Instead of rushing through aisles, people were invited to take a walk, hike a trail, or simply enjoy fresh air with loved ones. The message was simple but powerful. The best deal was not inside a store. The best deal was the time you kept for yourself. This choice stood out because it was so different. At a time when most retailers were opening earlier and pushing harder, Ray chose to do less. It proved that companies could build loyalty by honoring peace instead of pressure. Many customers admired the move, and many followed the suggestion to spend the day outdoors. The decision became more than a campaign. It became a reminder that traditions can shift when people are willing to imagine something new. Another alternative that has grown in recent years is Giving Tuesday. It was created in 2012 as a response to the days of spending that surround Thanksgiving. After Black Friday and Cyber Monday, people are encouraged to give to charities and causes they care about. Instead of focusing on what they receive, they focus on what they can share. The idea spread quickly across the country and then across the world. It showed that the same energy that drives shopping can also drive generosity. Giving Tuesday highlights something deeper about human behavior. People are not only motivated by discounts, they are also motivated by connection, meaning, and purpose. Donating money or time creates a sense of belonging and impact. It shifts the emotional reward from having more to sharing more. The joy that comes from giving is longer lasting than the quick thrill of buying. Studies have shown that generosity creates feelings of happiness that remain beyond the moment. This is why the movement has continued to grow. These alternatives do not erase the excitement of Black Friday, but they offer balance. They remind people that the season can be about more than spending. They open the door to choices that feel calmer and more personal. For some, it means choosing to skip the lines and spend the day resting with family. For others, it means spending less on gifts and more on experiences that create memories. Each choice is small, but each changes the meaning of the season in powerful ways. Stepping outside the frenzy can also heal the stress that builds around money. When you choose peace, you allow yourself to breathe. You are not pulled by countdowns or surrounded by flashing signs. You are not comparing your cart to someone else's. You are simply living the day at your own pace. That space alone can ease anxiety. It can remind you that you are not defined by how much you spend. For families, these choices often create stronger connections. A walk outside, a shared meal, or a game played together can bring more joy than crowded shopping trips. Children may not remember the sale their parents rushed to, but they will remember the moments when they felt cared for and seen. The gift of presence often lasts longer than the gift of a product. Choosing peace is also choosing memory. It is worth noticing how these new traditions reflect a cycle of change. Black Friday began as chaos, was reshaped into celebration, and is now being questioned again. Each generation has the power to decide what story the day will tell. Right now, many people are choosing to tell a story of balance. They are proving that the season can be meaningful without being overwhelming. This does not mean everyone must avoid shopping. It means people can decide what matters most. Some may choose to buy a few thoughtful gifts instead of many. Some may choose to support local businesses instead of large chains. Some may decide that their peace is more valuable than any discount. These choices are personal, and each one rewrites the story in a way that feels true to the individual. The alternatives also show that money itself is not the enemy. The stress comes from how money is framed, how it is tied to pressure, and how it is wrapped in myths. When you step back from that, you can see money more clearly. You can use it as a tool for calm rather than as a source of stress. You can give it meaning that feels safe instead of overwhelming. As you lie here tonight, think about the alternatives that would bring you peace. Would it feel calmer to spend the day outside, away from crowds? Would it feel kinder to give instead of buy? Would it feel more restful to simply allow yourself a day without decisions about money? These choices are always available, even if the world around you is rushing in another direction. The lesson of opting for peace is that you are allowed to write your own story. You do not need to follow the script handed to you by retailers or culture. You can pause, reflect, and choose differently. Each choice you make is a way of saying that your peace matters as much as your purchases. That message is gentle, but it is powerful. But the story of Black Friday still has one more chapter. After the fog of myths, after the mirages of discounts, and after the choices of peace, there remains the question of balance. How do you hold all of these lessons together? How do you carry them beyond the holiday season into your everyday life? This final part of the journey is about redesign. It is about creating a relationship with money that feels safe, steady, and kind. And that is where we will go in the next chapter, into the practice of balance, the gentle redesign of habits, and the ways people can find peace not only on Black Friday, but in every season of their financial lives. After stepping away from the noise of sales and learning about alternatives that bring peace, the final step is finding balance. Balance is not about avoiding shopping completely. It is about building a relationship with money that feels safe, steady, and kind. It is about carrying the lessons of the season into everyday life, so that you do not feel controlled by pressure. Instead, you feel guided by calm. Finding balance begins with awareness. You now know how myths have shaped the meaning of Black Friday. You know how retailers have used tactics like 99-cent pricing, doorbusters, and false discounts to guide emotions. You have seen how credit cards fuel the cycle and how stress and sleeplessness make it stronger. Awareness is the first step because it gives you space. Once you see the pattern, you no longer feel trapped inside it. The next step is gentleness with yourself. Many people blame themselves for overspending, for buying impulsively, or for carrying debt into the new year. This blame only adds to the stress. Balance does not come from shame, it comes from compassion. When you forgive yourself for past choices, you create room to make new ones. You see that every purchase was not only about money, it was about emotion, culture, and history. That recognition softens the weight. Balance also comes from planning with kindness. A budget does not have to feel strict or punishing. It can feel like a map that shows you where your values lead. When you write down what matters most, you give your money a direction. It might be family meals, time outdoors, or a dream you are saving toward. Every time you align your spending with those values, you feel stronger and calmer. The numbers are not there to control you. They are there to reflect what matters. Small rituals help create this sense of balance. Some people set aside a quiet moment before the holiday season to decide what they can comfortably spend. Others keep a simple list of meaningful gifts instead of wandering stores without a plan. Even pausing before each purchase and asking, "Do I want this for need or for comfort?" can bring clarity. These rituals are gentle, but they add structure. They bring calm to moments that otherwise feel chaotic. Balance also means allowing yourself joy. Spending is not always wrong. Buying a gift, treating yourself, or sharing a meal with friends can all bring happiness. The difference comes when those choices are made with intention instead of impulse. When you buy from a place of clarity, the joy lasts longer. When you buy from a place of stress, the joy fades quickly. Balance is the practice of slowing down enough to notice which place you are buying from. Another part of balance is rest. The story of Black Friday shows how sleeplessness shapes choices. A tired mind is more vulnerable to pressure. Rest is not a luxury. It is a foundation for wise decisions. By protecting your sleep, you protect your clarity. By giving yourself rest, you give yourself balance. Even if the world encourages staying up late for deals, you can choose differently. You can choose rest over rush. Balance also means embracing alternatives when they feel right. You can choose to spend less, to give differently, or to skip the frenzy altogether. You can choose presence over presence. You can choose generosity in forms that are not tied to products. Each choice you make reminds you that the story of money is yours to shape. Balance does not mean doing what everyone else does. It means finding what brings peace to you and living that truth. The lessons of balance extend beyond holidays. They apply to everyday life. The same pressures that shape Black Friday exist year-round in different forms. Sales, advertising, and cultural myths continue to nudge decisions. But with awareness, compassion, planning, and rest, you can respond differently. You can step out of the cycle and into a softer rhythm. That rhythm becomes your new story with money. Balance is not about perfection. There will be moments when you spend more than you planned. There will be nights when worry keeps you awake. There will be times when you fall into the same patterns. That does not mean you have failed. It means you are human. Balance is about returning, again and again, to a place of calm. Each time you return, you strengthen the habit of peace. This chapter is the bridge between history and future. You have walked through the origins of Black Friday, the chaos of Philadelphia, the myths of red and black ink, the tricks of pricing, the rise of doorbusters, the pull of credit, and the weight of emotional spending. You have seen the mirages of savings and the myths that shaped tradition. You have also seen the alternatives that remind us peace is possible. Balance is the place where all these lessons meet. Balance allows you to carry the story forward without fear. It shows you that money is not only about transactions, it is about feelings, choices, and meaning. It is about aligning what you do with what you value. It is about remembering that you are worthy of peace even when the world around you is rushing. As you breathe slowly tonight, let yourself feel the truth of balance. You do not need to rush. You do not need to prove yourself through spending. You do not need to carry the myths that others built. You are free to choose a softer path, one that honors your peace. Every small step toward balance is a gift to yourself, but the story is not finished. After 15 chapters of history, emotion, and lessons, there remains one final piece. It is the closing reflection, the gentle conclusion that ties all of these threads together. It is the part that sends you into rest with a sense of calm and clarity. And that is where we will go next, into the peaceful conclusion of this journey, where the story of Black Friday becomes a mirror for your own story with money, and where you are reminded that you are allowed to rest, to forgive, and to begin again. You have traveled through a long story tonight. It began with the crash of gold markets in the 1800s, where the name Black Friday first carried fear. It moved through the crowded streets of Philadelphia in the 1950s, where police gave the day a name of dread. It stretched into the 1980s, when retailers rewrote the story into one of profits and celebration. From there, it grew into doorbusters, midnight rushes, digital deals, and myths that shaped entire cultures. At each step, you saw how money was never only about numbers. It was about stories. It was about how those stories shaped feelings, decisions, and traditions. The truth was often hidden under myths, yet the feelings were always real. The pull of a bargain, the rush of a purchase, the regret of a bill, these have been part of the story from the beginning. Tonight, you have walked through them slowly, not to judge, but to understand. The lesson of Black Friday is not that shopping is wrong. The lesson is that shopping is shaped by forces that reach deeper than logic. Pricing tricks, false discounts, and urgent signs are built to stir emotion. Credit cards stretch those emotions further, turning quick choices into long-term weight. Stress and sleeplessness make the cycle stronger. And yet, in the middle of it all, there are choices that lead to peace. You have seen that alternatives exist. Families can choose to spend time outside instead of rushing through aisles. Communities can choose to give instead of buy. Individuals can choose rest, balance, and compassion over guilt and pressure. These choices are not about rejecting joy. They are about finding joy in ways that feel safer and more lasting. As you breathe slowly, notice how your body feels softer when you imagine peace instead of pressure. The holiday season does not need to be measured by receipts. It can be measured by moments of connection, laughter, and calm. The story of Black Friday shows that traditions change over time. That means your own traditions can change too. You are not bound by the myths or the rush. You are free to write your own meaning. One of the gentlest lessons of this journey is forgiveness. If you have spent more than you planned in the past, you can forgive yourself. If you have lost sleep over money, you can forgive yourself. If you have carried debt longer than you wanted, you can forgive yourself. Every choice you made was shaped by pressures bigger than you. The fact that you are here now, listening and learning, is proof of your strength. Balance is not perfection. Balance is the return to calm after the storm. Each time you pause before a purchase, each time you rest instead of rushing, each time you remind yourself that you are enough, you are practicing balance. These small practices add up. They build a new story where money is no longer a source of constant stress, but a tool that supports your life with kindness. The story of Black Friday, in the end, is a mirror. It shows how culture, business, and psychology can shape behavior. It also shows how myths can be rewritten. What was once a day of collapse became a day of shopping. What was once a word of fear became a word of celebration. If that story can be rewritten, then so can yours. You are not fixed in one pattern. You are allowed to change, to soften, to rest. Tonight, as you close your eyes, let yourself release the pressure. Let yourself feel gratitude for the lessons you have absorbed. You have learned about history, but you have also learned about yourself. You have seen how emotions guide spending, how stress shapes choices, and how awareness brings clarity. These are not lessons to memorize. They are truths to carry gently, like a soft blanket that keeps you steady when life feels heavy. Your story with money is still being written. Every day offers a chance to write it more kindly. You do not need to rush. You do not need to prove yourself through purchases. You do not need to chase myths that were built to pressure you. You can choose a slower pace, a gentler path, a calmer story. That choice is yours, and it is always waiting for you. So tonight, rest in the knowledge that you are enough as you are. You are not defined by your spending, your savings, or your debts. You are defined by the care you carry, the love you share, and the peace you allow yourself to hold. Money is part of life, but it does not need to take your rest. Tonight, you can rest freely. And tomorrow, when you wake, you may see money with softer eyes. You may feel calmer when you face choices. You may remember that your story is yours to shape, not anyone else's. That is the gentle power you carry now. So breathe deeply, release the weight, and let sleep come. You have walked through a long history, through myths, through illusions, and through stress. Now you are here, in calm. Let yourself rest with the story, knowing that peace is part of your path and that your money story is allowed to be beautiful.